So what this method is a really quick way to address distractions. It's really quick to demonstrate, but I'll explain that as we go. Instead of describing it to you, I wonder if there is one of you that minds being a volunteer. This takes 10 minutes or less to demonstrate. At the beginning and at the end, you do not need to share any private information. So whatever comes to mind, you keep to yourself. I don't need to know it. You can ask questions along the way, and eyes open, eyes closed, it doesn't matter. So with that in mind, are any of you willing to be a volunteer?
What is our role in volunteering?
I would be leading you through this demonstration. So this is a mindset tool to address your distractions in this 10 minutes or less. You're willing? Great. Welcome.
My life is nothing but distractions.
I see Kelsey is like relieved. Willing but relieved. So Laura.
Yes, Laura.
I'm going to ask you two questions. The design of these two questions is to bring to mind something that's just ready to change for the better. So question one, is there something, an ambition? Every time you reach for it, there's the same barrier or obstacle. Or question two, is there something from the past? You've dealt with it mentally, spiritually, emotionally, but you do notice that similar things come up in life. So for question one or question two, does something come to mind for you?
Question one is, can you repeat it again? I think it's one.
Sure. Yes. Is there an ambition? Sometimes something that when you reach for it, there's the same barrier or obstacle.
Yes.
Okay. The job of the thing that came to mind is to point to somewhere in your body. So as you think about the thing that came to mind, does your awareness instantly go to your big toe? Does it instantly go to your ear? Where does your awareness instantly go?
My legs?
Sure. As you pay attention to your legs, so just checking in with yourself, what do you sense there? And it could be a temperature, a pressure.
Like a weight, a heaviness.
Okay. So now what I'd like you to do is decouple the situation that came to mind from the sensation in your legs. They may show up at the same time, but they're not actually the same. So set aside the situation. We'll come back to it at the end. Pay attention just to the pressure in your legs, the weight. Imagine a box in front of you. Now it can be any kind of box. It's just helpful if it's see-through. And here's the reason. You're not going to lock anything away or banish it. We just want to give you a chance to observe the energy like a scientist. And if you're doing it like a scientist, that means interpretation comes at the end. So allow that weighty sensation from your legs to be in the box. If it could be visual, it'll show you what it wants to look like. So what's in the box? And do you mind sharing that?
I don't mind, but I'm not seeing anything just yet. I feel like there's a color,
Okay.
orange.
Okay. So go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all I feel right now.
So my question for you, and I'm just going to call it energy for the sake of, a common terminology. If that energy in the box could change to be more supportive, are you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. Pay attention to what's in the box, snap your own fingers once, and what's in the box may or may not change.
Blue water comes to mind.
Okay. As you observe blue water, what is your reaction? Now, the similarity is, as you watch a movie or a TV show, as new information is brought to light, your reaction to the show might change. So as you're observing blue water, what is your reaction?
It's a calming sensation.
Okay.
More peaceful.
So I have a question, and there's no right answer. Are you comfortable with the combination of what you sense in the box and your reaction? Or are you curious whether the energy could be more supportive? And usually I say, if you're even a tiny bit curious, we should go
Yeah,
with that.
I'm curious.
Okay. 3 things I want to let you know about your energy. So if you want to pause just for a second. So 1, your energy loves you. Your energy is so, so smart. Our mitochondria absorb 30 million bits of information per second, but we only process 40. It takes about 7 days to process 40 million bits of information. But over those days, you're absorbing more information. So our body contains more information than we cognate. And 3, our energy knows the best direction for us. So you want the first 2, because if you have energy that was smart but didn't love you, you might say, well, I don't trust you. Or if you had energy that loved you but wasn't smart, you could say, well, that's cute, but I don't trust you. So it's important to know that your energy, the piece of it that's in the box, loves you and is very, very smart. And the fact that it wants the best direction for you, it doesn't want to drag you along. It wants you to participate. So you've said you're curious. Just remember that your energy loves you and your energy is very, very smart. So we're going to repeat a few steps. Observe what's in the box, snap your fingers, and what's in the box may or may not change. What's in the box?
Don't know that it changed. Maybe it changed. I feel like I'm participating too much and trying to think of something.
Oh, no. So let's say it didn't change, because that is an option. Your energy doesn't have to visually change. What is your reaction as you observe something that apparently did not change?
I'm curious why it didn't change.
Okay.
But I think that it feels steady.
Okay. Is that a description or is that your reaction? It could be either.
Yeah. I guess my reaction is mostly curious why it didn't change.
Okay. So now are you comfortable with the combination of what you see in the box and your reaction, or are you curious whether it could be more supportive?
I am curious.
Okay. Pay attention to what's in the box, snap your fingers, and what's in the box may or may not change. Allow it full creativity. What's in the box?
More of not just water, but like a beach sand.
Okay. And your reaction?
I feel it's a positive change. It's okay.
Is that a description or your reaction?
My reaction.
Okay. Comfortable or curious?
Comfortable.
Comfortable. So you were never separated from your energy, but to complete the visualization, that box opens and that energy is a part of you again. At the beginning, you felt a weightiness in your legs. So check in there now. What do you sense?
Not as much weight. Yeah.
Okay, so a change.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now think back to the situation at the beginning. Again, you do not have to talk about what it is at all, but do you sense a change there as well? Now, it doesn't change facts of the past. It may change your point of view. There may be a perspective shift, or which is the same thing. Ideas may come to mind you haven't had before.
I don't really feel a major change in that feeling or that circumstance.
Okay. I'm not going to draw that out, but pay
Okay.
attention to that over time, because what this and this that is it. That is all there is to this practice. So let me ask if you have any questions before we move on. What did you think as you went through that?
I think it's really interesting to visualize something that's, I guess, an intangible circumstance into something more tangible.
Okay. What this does is when you decouple the block, the question was if there was something that you're trying to work for, but there's the same block or obstacle. What I like to say that in our energy, what exists persists. And when we have something that's blocking us or something that happened and it's in our energy field, sometimes we put it away just because we need to live life for a little bit. But the universe, I'm just going to call it that way. I'm not sure how you all like to talk about things. Everything outside of us, we run off of electrical impulses and neurochemicals. And when something is in a state in us, we recreate it consciously, unconsciously, but everything conspires to agree. So what we do in this practice is we separate the block or the situation from the energy, and we pay attention to one at a time. Because if the energy is allowed to flow in a different direction, then all of the circumstances from here on out are allowed to be different. So I would just pay attention to whatever had been blocking you before and just watch for that to be different. Any other quick questions? And I would like to give a chance for everyone to go through this all together. Any quick questions?
I'll just share when I did that. It was so cool how like I could physically totally feel it like immediately as soon as like it was just like all this tension, and then as soon as it was gone, it was like complete freedom. And I've been able to move through the issue that I was doing. Just it's been like, and it's been really, really cool to just see all these kind of things that have shown up now that I just let go of that. But the energy, it just makes complete sense. Like energetically, we either have a resonance for something that we connect with it, or we just don't. And so as we dissolve that resonance and that frequency from us, and we can step in, like I can feel like there's just more light and a clearing of that energy that I didn't want to resonate with anymore. So yeah, it's super cool. Brooke.
I had a question around what you just said. Sorry, your name is
Kiralei.
Kiralei, thank you. That what this is doing is somewhat separating the situation from the physical that's happening. Like I felt it in my diaphragm, and then energetically things move in that direction, and you keep seeing it again and again because you're energetically there. So this disrupts that energy. Is that how did
I would say that we're witnessing our energy. Sometimes our energy just wants attention. Like a child might feel like they want more attention than they perceive that they're getting. So they might act up for attention. And either, we tell them, hey, just a second, but if they become impatient, they get bigger and we have to address what is happening. Our energy is much the same way. So I would say rather than forcing a change, we're inviting a change with a loose direction, which is this or something better. Essentially. So as you go through it, and as we go through these two questions, they're fairly simple things. They're things that are just ready to shift for the better. When you start deciding to deal with things that are more deep-seated, it may take longer. So I'll just give you that as a caveat, because what I'm going to do is give you a PDF so that you can do this on your own. But what I'd really like to do is take you all through it, because I just have a few more minutes with you here. But yeah, if you don't mind, this is all participation. Hearing this alone does not force you into anything. So if you'd rather just be an observer, please feel comfortable to do so. But I'm going to ask you two questions. If something comes to mind, the job of that situation is to point to somewhere in your body. That's just the caveat. Question one, is there an ambition? Something that every time you think about it or go towards it, there's the same barrier or obstacle. Or question two, is there something from the past and you've dealt with it mentally, spiritually, emotionally, but you do notice that similar things keep coming up in life? So consider that for question one or question two. Does something come to mind for you? As you capture that, whatever thing had come to mind, where does it point in your body? Does your awareness instantly go to your shoulder? Maybe it goes to your knee. And when you pay attention to that area, what do you sense there? Like a pressure, a temperature. Can you describe it just a little bit? And remember, we're not trying to anchor to it, just want to give you a before and after. Imagine a box in front of you. It can be any kind of box. Just let it be see-through so that you can observe the energy like a scientist. Just going to call that whatever you're sensing in your body and energy. Allow it to be in the box. And if it could be visual for you, it'll show you what it wants to look like. Consider what's in the box. And remember, it's just a visual. What is your reaction as you observe it? And a reaction is not you either. It's just a response, like communication. The question is, if that energy in the box could change to be more supportive, are you okay with that? So this is you communicating with your energy saying, yeah, I'd like this or something better. And saying no is fine too, and you can just go into observation. I'm going to snap through the rest of the process for you. And I will snap my fingers and what's in the box may or may not change. 3, 2, what's in the box? As you see what's in the box, consider for yourself, what is your reaction to what you see? As we go through this, I'll only repeat 3 more times. The question is, and you can say no, the question is, are you comfortable with the combination of what you see in the box and your reaction? Or are you curious whether that energy in the box could be more supportive? If you're curious, I'm going to snap my fingers in 3, 2, what's in the box? And as you consider what's in the box, what is your reaction? At any time you can say, I'm actually comfortable now. But if you're curious, this is number 2. 3, 2. What's in the box? And as you see what's in the box, what is your reaction? And remember, your energy wants the best direction for you because your energy loves you and is so, so smart. Allow it to be very creative with you. This is the last time. If you're comfortable, just stick with this and we'll catch up to you in a second. If you're curious whether it could be more supportive. 3, 2. What's in the box? And as you see what's in the box, what is your reaction? Now, there's a chance you may not be comfortable yet, and you see what this practice is. You can come back to this at any time and continue on your own. You see how simple this is. It's just witnessing and reacting. But if you're comfortable, that box easily opens, that energy is easily a part of you again. And at the beginning, you considered where in your body you felt this energy. Check in there again. What do you sense? Has there been a change? And think back to the situation from the beginning, either a recurring block or a recurring event that you'd rather change. As you consider that, is there a shift there? And that's all there is to that. Just return to us as you can. Thank you.
Kiralei, magical. Thank you.
This is just a tool for your toolbox. There are many other things that do very similar things, but thank you for going through what you're going through. Thanks, Paige.
Thank you for being here with us. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And we're going through choosing love over fear and really looking at fear. And when we see what fears are coming up, this is such a beautiful tool to have. So thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I appreciate you.
See you guys.
Okay, thank you. Oh, was that cool? So we're
Yes,
diving
yes,
in,
yes.
guys. We're diving in. We've got 20 minutes and I want to dive into this. I know we're getting into how do you experience fear? What is fear to you? Where does it stop you? Where does it get you in your way? And what does it look like to not have so much fear and to be stepping into a different way of being? So I just wanted to start out by just seeing if anyone wanted to share what came up for you this week. If there's anyone that wants to share what came up with Kiralei, you're welcome to as well. But yeah, anyone have anything to kind of is dying to share with the group? I know some of you hopped on late. Brooke.
Well, I thought that was so neat, the gentleness of her process, that she didn't force anything. It was like, if you know, inviting, totally inviting, and the questions that it was such an example of like the quality of our life is determined by the quality of our questions. Her questions were really intentional, and now the question is, the way that she presented was very clear. And it was sort of like a magic trick how it would change for me.
Yeah.
So it really is an invitation to see, like, we are so much, oh, I'm feeling this, and so it's in my body, and it's right here, and it's heavy, and then we're saying, and it's this color, and that means that, and we're making all this meaning to the situation that's out of us, and then what it means. And so that was a neat tool to sort of tease out the situation from like how we experience it and how we can experience it. That was very cool. I love these sort of tools.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I wish you could have heard that. I'm gonna actually send that to her because it yeah, it was really neat. I loved that snap, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, that's fascinating. I addressed this like tightness and feeling in my jaw associated with, I don't know whether it was associated, but what's neat is afterwards you think of the thing and you don't have the physical reaction. So there's definitely like an unlinking that happens, but then
Yeah.
download of how to step forward in a healthier way. So it was definitely super cool for me, and I was excited for you guys to experience that. Anyone else that wants to share? Or
I'll just share super fast. I was like, there's no way I'm gonna get anything out of this. I'm so late. And then I was like, okay, let me just close my eyes. And I thought of like the attachment of relationships and like the ugliness of my past relationships. And so I felt like this pit in my stomach. Like you feel like when you see someone that you love and like your stomach hurts and they're hurt physically. So I had like this black ball, like with moving gooey stuff come out. And she's like, what do you want to see? And I'm like, this fuzzy red heart. And then so I put it in the box, and then all of a sudden it turned into a white heart. And then it got like a fuzzy white heart. And then it got a little bit of red spots on it. And then it got a little more red spots on it. Like it was like growing into what like I wanted it to be instead of what I was associating that with. So I don't know. That was really neat.
that's so cool. And I love that. Are you curious if it could change? Yeah, that's a really cool question. So beautiful. Okay, so the writing, the workbook, what we've gone through for the first bit, and I wanted to start in the day one. How do you experience fear? And I'd like the question, what like healthy fear, which is usually just if you're like physically in danger, lets us know and keeps our senses alert, and it can protect us from bodily harm. But then when there's no risk to your physical well-being, how have you or could you ask yourself good questions about whatever situation you're facing? And so the thing that came up for me, and knowing this principle was so supportive when I got diagnosed with breast cancer, because when I got the diagnosis, there was a lot of unknown, right? And I immediately felt the whole entire fear body just completely seize up. And And so and they kind of tell you in a weird way. They're like, you have, this kind of carcinoma. And I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. And all of a sudden they're like, you have cancer. And I'm like, what? And your whole body just goes like, and then there's like a billion questions, but then you ask what questions like you have. And then they say, well, I can't answer that. I'm only the secretary. And so, so it was this very like interesting play on with fear. And I was studying it and learning all this. And so it was this real chance to use my mind as a tool and go, okay, like I've asked all the questions that I can possibly ask right now, and I have to wait to talk to a doctor in order to get more information. And so I'm just going to trust that I've asked the questions I need, and I know that the doctor's appointment is set up, and I've done everything that I can possibly do in this moment. And so I'm going to let go of the fear. And it worked. It was really amazing. Like I wasn't spiraling. I wasn't going into what next or the worst case scenario or whatever. I just kind of embodied this concept. And I have not done this in every situation. I'm just saying this was one day on my planet where I actually did this quite well. And and that's this concept of knowing what questions to ask and knowing like what information do I need, and then trusting that I have all the information I can have at the time, and I'm going to wait until I get into another situation to get more information or to make my next decision, or I'm going to make this decision. I'm going to do everything I can right now, and then I'm going to move forward. So it was a really kind of like great experience to practice this stuff. And I'm just curious if any of you have, even just this last week, like practiced, oh, I feel fear. What information do I need in order to step out of fear and back into like out of suffering and into a place of peace or calm or love?
Yeah.
I have a good example. So I went to my yearly appointment and she's like, oh, you have a lump around your lymph nodes and we're gonna have to do a mammogram, and usually don't do them until 40 and this and that. And I'm sure that I would have really freaked out if it were a couple years ago and I had that information given to me, but I'm just like,
Hey, are you at Cascade?
huh?
Paige, you're on Paige. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Amanda.
Yeah, that, I just took it in and I said, okay, well, I'm not gonna freak out. I don't, of course I don't know all the information, but she's like, well, it could be something really bad or it could be like normal hormones. And so instead of, I don't know, I just chose to look at it with gratitude that I went when I went, and just go to the next thing and not freak out until hopefully not at all. But I don't know. I just haven't really told anybody except for Paige earlier, but it feels like weird saying it out loud, but I'm like, inside I don't feel like anything's wrong, like I'm fine, which is really cool. So
yeah, I had an experience like this too with this week with my mom. So she's really good at going into fear straight away. And like maybe the female brain, the human brain, we go to worst case scenarios so often. And I just gave her the invitation, like, maybe don't go to worst case scenario, because then stress makes us stupid and then we don't, think of the best solutions. And the example that I have of this is like not going to worst case scenario. It's really quick. We had this shooter incident at one of our high schools where they called in, and it was not an actual shooter, but it was someone pretending to be a shooter and say they were in the high school. So all the schools went to lockdown, and I happened to be in my youngest daughter's school. I mean, talk about, for fear. So they get everyone in from recess and they said, we're going into lockdown. There's been a shooting threat. And someone, was on the phone. So I went straight to my daughter's class and they were all in lockdown situation. They were lowering the blinds and one of the kids was like, "Oh my gosh, what is it? What's the matter?" And I said in that moment, I said, "Oh, there might be a moose on the loose." And in that moment, it was like all the kids were like, "Whoa, there might be a moose on the loose." And it became like not scary, not traumatic. But this is the key part. Both scenarios could have been true. We didn't know if there was an active shooter, but everyone's brains, all adults went to that was the worst case scenario was what we were all preparing for. But here's the thing, both were equally possible. There wasn't a moose on the loose. There wasn't an active shooter. But our brains go so much to worst case scenario, and then we're in that fear, and it doesn't serve us. This is just, I keep trying to check myself, like, whoa, my brain just went to worst case scenario again. It's so common. And I wonder if it's more in the female brain too, because my husband doesn't experience this in the same way I do. But anyway, that's the importance of just like double checking our thought. Like, is it true? Yeah.
Something that came to me was my therapist used to ask me these questions when I would feel this anxiety come over me. And it was what you're saying. It's like, I think I looked it up because I was like, where did this come from? Is it true? How can I know if it's absolutely true? And how will I react or what happens when I believe it? And then how would you be without that thought? Because I used to just fixate on a thought and I didn't even know if it was true. And I
I
still,
know.
but I still do it. But I've forgotten that until we just started talking about this. Like, I need to ask myself that more frequently.
And there's an app for that, just so you know, it's called The Work by Byron Katie.
Yeah,
And
that's what it,
when
yeah.
you're stuck in it, it is so good. Like when I'm deep
Crazy.
in like a stuck place of making something wrong or just being in my own suffering, it's so, so powerful to ask the right questions. So I want to jump over to like all of these questions are so good, recognizing like what emotions you're actually just ignoring out of fear. What fear is stopping you from expanding into, right? What fears are there? Like I have this fear of aloneness, fear of not being enough. Like I have those fears, and how are those stopping me right now on my work of that fear of failure, the being on the wrong path? How are these things? And really writing it down, acknowledging it, going, yeah, that's there. But one of my favorite things, like, I loved even in this, is that how much time will you expend thought, energy, and time in a fearful way? And I wrote, I will expend no energy and no time in a fearful way today. Like I like fully engaging in this, and I'm writing out my 3 wins every day. And I really encourage you to do that. But on page 5, this is one of the only images I put in the workbook. But I want to tell you about this because this is actually a really interesting kind of concept of fear. And this is, Ron from Harry Potter. And he and Harry Potter had this potion that he got called Liquid Luck. And this potion makes the drinker lucky for a period of time and ensures that everything they attempt will be successful. And Ron he needs to win this Quidditch match, like he needs to breathe. And he thinks that he talks Harry Potter into giving him the liquid luck. And he performs incredibly well. He takes risks he would never take. He to completely dominates, right? He plays the best match of his life. And it's basically at the end, Hermione's super mad at Harry Potter for giving him this cheating potion. And Harry says, I didn't actually give it to him, right? So this is the concept of placebo effect. It's a concept of a lot of things, but it's the concept of fearlessness. And so What if we didn't listen to that worst case scenario? The fear that we often make our decisions out of, and we were in total faith. And what could get us to the total faith place, right? And then if you had total faith, what success, if success was guaranteed, what is something you would do today that is different than before? And I would love to have this, like, what is it? What is something that you, and I'd really love for us to each share one thing that we're going to do that if we had absolute faith, we would actually step into. If you could have liquid luck for 1 week, what would you use the liquid luck on, right? What could you get? What could you experience? What could you do? Like, one of the things that came up was like, if I had absolute faith that I was going to hit my income goals, I would buy flights for my kids to go to 5 more countries this year, right? It's one of my goals to get them to 18 countries before they're 18. I am falling behind here. And I have this like, oh, but it's a lot and I don't know. And I would take them to Europe for the summer, right? If I just had absolute faith and luck, like the liquid luck that I could hit the income goals I have. So right after this, I'm going up to meet with a guy and I'm going up to a $11 million house with Dave Austin to see his home and to plan a coaching 6-month coaching program that I'm going to sell for him, and I'm going to co-create with him. And he's the coach of the Oakland A's, and he set up a mindset training for the Olympic team, the Olympic training center of all the Olympics. Like, it's just like crazy, right? But it's crazy. But like, we were supposed to go skiing today, but we're not going skiing. But like, this is the kind of stuff that can happen when we go like, oh, like, this is actually when I'm stopped thinking, well, what if he doesn't like me? What if, I mean, he's worked with like movie stars and the president of Russia. Like, who am I? And then you just go, well, I have something to share. Oh, I know how to sell coaching programs. I'll talk to him about that. And he says, yes. So what is it? Just what would you use your liquid luck on? Kelsey has something.
He just keeps laughing this whole time.
It's 100% related to my house. Like, having that's like the top of my manifestation list is a 4-bed or 5-bed house that, and I was completely unattached to renting or owning. And so anyways, taking little moves and actions towards what could be possible, trusting that there might be an option that I didn't know was possible.
Yeah. And like, one of the things that this guy I'm working with at Coaches, he has this thing called Game Ready, and one of his methods, but it's really just a simple process of seeing something so clearly that you can believe it. And then once you see it so clearly that you believe it, then you can attain it. Like, how do you win Olympics? Well, you can't win them if you've never won them before. But if you've won them 100 times already in your mind, or every time you get on the court, then it's a lot easier to win the Olympics, right? But it's the same thing that you can use with your home. Like, every time you imagine being in the kitchen and putting something on the table and sitting down, or like laying in bed or sitting on the couch and just like, oh, I've been here. I know the feeling that it feels like in my house, right? I know what it feels like to have the home that I've been dreaming of. I know what it feels like to vibrationally sit on the couch. So the mind is so powerful. There's so much creativity that we can access when we just allow ourselves to dream. Like, go for the moonshot, right?
Yeah.
It's awesome. I love it. I see it. Awesome. Thank you.
I love that. I'm going to take that with me as I proceed into the unknowns,
Yeah.
unattached, because I want to make wise decisions.
Yeah, but just keep drinking the
It appears,
drinking the
Laura,
potion.
that it appears that I'm the annoying woman who thinks like who's very creative and might really bug her realtor.
No, I have people like that who ask the questions that you were talking about at the beginning of the call. And and I'm more conservative when I talk about it with people. So I tend to be more, I'm not trying to be fearful, but like there's a practical side or a practical answer to a lot of it. It doesn't mean you can't try.
Well, and it doesn't mean that you can't ask the questions, right?
Right.
Like,
Right.
and the whole beginning of this is that the day one is saying, figure out what the questions to ask.
Yeah.
And so when fear comes up, oh, maybe I won't be able to get that. Well, let's ask good questions rather than going, oh, I probably won't be able to get that. Yeah. And don't get it, right?
I keep getting messages that I shouldn't just give up and do the thing that doesn't really feel good, which is to rent something that isn't vibe with me. So I'm trying to keep, just stay optimistic and open.
There are lenders who will rent to you if you don't have 2 years tax returns. You just have to find them.
Yeah.
There's so much opportunity in real estate that it's just about figuring it out with the seller.
Yeah, like we can chat offline, but
Yeah, you have like a brilliant person here that you can talk to about it. See, you can get your questions answered. Okay, Laura,
I
what's
can at
yours?
least try. I feel like I do this in like my life all day, every day. Like even just little things. Like hearing you talk about it. I think I live in fear a lot. Like I don't plan the trip or whatever it is. Just, like I don't even want to get on a dating site because I don't want to deal with the downside of it, right? Like I don't want to deal with but if I just went into it and didn't like attach myself to a particular outcome and, just okay, whatever, then maybe it would be fine. I don't know. That's not my priority, by the way, but
Well, one of the things I love is when you ask the question, like, why am I doing this? It's so I can be proud of myself and how I've shown up. So I know that I've done all that I can do, right? So in order to find a partner, what are some things that I could do? Da, 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 da. Okay, so what would I have to do in order to do that? Okay, da, 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 da. And I'm doing what's in my business. Whether someone matches with me or someone responds to my match or whatever, I don't have, but I'm proud of myself because I did something that scared the shit out of me. And I got on a dating site and I accepted the fact that some people don't match with me, right? And that's just something like when the answer is, so I'm proud of how I'm showing up, you're on the right track, right? So that's a good hack for like dealing with fear is like going down the track of asking questions and then going like, and like, how will I know I'm successful is I'm proud of how I'm showing up. Oh, you're heading out. Okay. Bye, Kels. Love you. Okay, Amanda, what's your moonshot? What would you use your liquid luck on?
Mine's kind of funny. I just have these couple things been hanging over me, but I would find a surgeon because I think that I keep on like self-sabotaging my surgery. I had one of my breast implants deflated during COVID. And I think it scares me that I'll like pick out the wrong person or I'll I don't know. And then I was like, what if I mess up my boobs and I want to have another kid? There's so many questions around it, but now I'm just like, okay, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to do it in November. I don't know who's going to do it, but do it November. And so I just need to like get on the ball and trust that I'll, find the right person if I do my due diligence and just like go through the process.
Don't you see how fear stops us? Like the thought was like, oh, I can't find a doctor. Okay. And you listen to it.
Yeah.
You're gonna lie. Like there's like, you live in California. How many boob doctors are there? Right?
Like, so
That's
many.
a total lie, but it stopped you from taking action. And all you had to do was go, is that true? Is it absolutely true? Or to go into, okay, so what do I want in a doctor? What questions should I ask as a doctor? And now we have Chat GPT. What are the 7 questions I should ask my implant doctor to repair a damaged implant? And it'll give you the top 7 best questions you could possibly ask, right? Like, we can find the right questions to ask, and then we can start moving forward again, but we just get totally stopped, don't we? It's amazing. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, we're with you. We'll hear more about it next week. Laura, is your commitment to get on a dating site?
No, I don't know where that came from, but I think that's part of what I've been like working with, you know, like the rejection was my like letter, you know, was to rejection. And
Yeah.
how
How do you use your liquid luck?
I mean, I'd love to plan a vacation for myself. But yeah, that's something. I was telling Paige I got inspired by something this last weekend, and I think I would start like taking steps to research that.
Yeah. Rather than like,
Because
what's the fear that comes up? Oh, I don't have enough money. Oh, I couldn't get funding, right?
oh yeah.
You
Yeah,
can listen
100%.
to it, or you could not listen to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless I do the research and see if it's a feasible option, then I won't have a clue. Like it,
Yeah.
I would just
Yeah.
be letting fear dictate it from the beginning instead of even possibly looking
Yeah,
into
we
it.
can so easily talk ourselves out of those things. I've talked myself out of so many businesses that later I'm like, what? It's in Target now. Like, I totally could have done that. I'm so, like, seriously, 5 times that I'm like seriously kicking myself. So
Well,
yeah,
and
you're gonna see
I
one of those
obviously,
spring up in 6 months if you're not doing it. It's happened to me so many times, you know?
well, obviously I did it with my, you know, daughter, like choosing to move forward with having a baby. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how I did that when I
Yeah.
teach all this other stuff. Like, I
Finding
think too,
information.
it's a deeply rooted passion too, right? Like it's hitting a nerve of something I really want. So yeah.
Cool. I'm excited. Hey,
With
Brooke,
Gary
you're the last
Keller
one.
and Keller Williams, that's who I'm affiliated with real estate wise. And he always says you fail forward. And that's a phrase that's so hard for me to digest because it incorporates failing, you know, failing at something. But when you fail at something and you fail forward, then it leads you to the next thing. And
Ooh,
so
I love that.
mhm.
Oh my gosh, I just wrote that down. We let fear dictate from the beginning. Yes, that seems to be what. So I went forward with my US citizenship, you guys, and it was like literally like, okay, we're doing this. And I had so many fears around it. And then 20 minutes before I verbally said the oath, someone the woman next to me gave me the piece that made it all okay for me. And I was like,
What did she
you
do?
just gave me that piece. I almost started crying. She said, oh, my aunt, who's a UK citizen, was super upset about, you know, that saying the oath to the US and then feeling like she wasn't no longer like a UK citizen or allegiant to the UK. And she said, but then later her nephew said, that's actually not true, Mom. The UK will never give away their citizens. So
Yeah.
you are always a US citizen. They've always got your back. And, you know, and I'm like, oh yeah. So I am living in the US. My kids are here. My sisters, my nieces and nephews are here. In this part of my life I'm living, but Canada always has my back. And that was like, oh my gosh, that's it. And then I could just say it clearly and openly. It was amazing.
Hey, there's this one part though. I'm gonna turn off the recording for this.